everybody. Welcome to Mom Talk. This is episode 16. I'm Jen.
And I'm Tanya.
And you're drinking?
Salted caramel. It's really good.
Cool.
It's very yummy.
I like it.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking...
This is our third start tonight.
And I still don't know what I'm drinking.
I know what you're drinking.
Let's hear it.
I know what you're drinking.
I'm drinking blackberry. I still don't know what I'm drinking. I
awesome.
do love flavored coffee, though.
Yes, I do too. Yeah. But it's been a long weekend, so
Very full.
Very full. Very good. Good
very
things,
full.
but very full. So I have TikToks.
Yes, we're very excited
We
about
have two tonight. Somebody wrote into us about a topic that we wanted to discuss, and we'll
Great topic.
probably come at it with different angles, which is completely fine. And ultimately, everyone has to do what works for them. And sometimes if you're just sharing, there might be that one thing that somebody's like, oh, that clicks, and then that's perfect, right? So, and hopefully people will comment and give suggestions as well.
Yes.
So we have two. Are you ready?
So we've got two
You want your
videos.
toast.
I want cinnamon toast.
Oh, I can make that. That's so yummy.
Put lots of butter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put that.
The cinnamon?
I don't want cinnamon.
You said you wanted cinnamon toast.
No, I just want it with butter.
So just bread and butter.
Right? Okay. And so then the next one.
Oh, wow.
Muffin tray dinners. I don't even know.
All you need is a muffin tray and to give up on the idea of your child ever eating a real meal. I like to start with vegetables to feel good about myself. And then fruit, still feeling good, not a failure as a parent. A row of real food. Then you finish that up with the giveaway row of the stuff that they will actually eat that is completely devoid of nutritional value.
There are always those who are going to say, you should not prepare special meals for your child and give in to picky eating. To which I say, good for you, Brenda.
Can I call you Brenda?
Do you really think this
Right?
was how I saw my life going, Brenda? Do you think this was my first choice? No one starts out here. We all start out thinking our kids are going to eat whatever we also eat.
This is for you. It's a snack tray.
I don't want these.
So, picky eating. Picky eating.
Actually, although I have never done that, I actually really like it because my favorite, so like legit my favorite meals are when you go to Showers and they have like
Options?
those kinds of like
Yeah.
things where you pick and so like I totally got the Tupperware like divided tray thing, and like all summer long I like
Yes,
I
you
put
did
like
do
different
that.
options,
Yes.
and I'll have one that has like crap that I know they're gonna eat,
Yeah.
and then I've got good stuff all the way
Yeah.
around, and then I just like eat all day long, and
Yeah.
I feel good about eating all day long because I'm
It's
eating
Not too bad.
the half decent stuff,
I
not
have a
just
bug
coffee.
bite on my back, and so it's really
Annoying you. So I actually
Yes.
like that idea.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about being like, here's supper,
Right.
but
So, I find like your kids are really not picky eaters.
for the
most
most part,
You grew up very picky.
both are picky.
But so this is the interesting thing. I didn't grow up very picky. My kids, I would say to people around us, seem like they're picky eaters. But really it's just because they're used to what I cook versus what other people cook.
We
So
experience this a lot.
I think that, yes, we have. And I think that's tricky because we all cook differently. So I wouldn't, and we do try to like, because you just get into the routine of what you're cooking, right?
Yeah.
And we do try to like broaden like our own cooking to even incorporate some stuff that other people would have.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of how
And I
it is.
remember, like, as a child, like, eating at somebody else's house was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, I'll never forget. I remember the girl's name. I remember where her house was. I remember everything about her dining room and sitting at the table. And I was like, they're serving hamburgers. Safe and easy meal.
Yeah. And
There were onions in the patty. They were homemade
oh, okay.
patties.
Right.
and I couldn't eat it, and I felt so bad because I just said I was really hungry, and then they were like, "Oh, is there something wrong with your food?" And of course, I'm going to lie and be like, "No,
Yeah. I just became not hungry now.
anymore."
Now
And
you can do the onions.
and
Now you would be able to do it.
Yes.
You wouldn't enjoy it, but you wouldn't like puke or gag or.
I've also learned more strategies, right?
Yes.
Like I can eat things that I don't like if I have a drink with me. So it's like
Okay.
a little bite, down it with water.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are some strategies I use. But I have definitely broadened my taste buds as an adult. It was really rough.
I feel like Cadence could be in that situation if she were to go to somebody's house. Because again, but it's more the aspect of everyone kind of cooks differently. And she's not rude about it, which is nice. Like, just like you, like, she's aware and trying to work
but it's
through
still hard
it. But
because it's still not acceptable to like, I don't
to
think,
not eat.
or I don't think that adults in general are good at accepting other people's kids saying I don't like that.
Yes.
Like I feel
See, Cadence usually
yeah.
will come to me or say, like, I'm not hungry, those kind of things. Like, but it's very tricky. And so what I was gonna say though, so like in our home, like growing up, my kids, my family right now, when they were young, they have dividing plates that we still kind of just use, and their father is a divider anyways as well. And so my kind of thought has been there are always going to be 3 things on your plate that you could give an option to. The other aspect too is like Brian doesn't eat, like, he doesn't like casseroles. He doesn't like things mixed in certain ways as well. So I'm attributing that to him. But the kids will have 3 different things on their plates. So I'm like, there's always an option. If you don't like the pasta, then you can have the chicken. If you don't like the chicken, you can have the vegetable. If you don't, whatever. So that's kind of been my theory. Find something on your plate that you like. And I don't make multiple meals unless it's like a Sunday afternoon or like we have leftovers or it's a Saturday and like Brian and I want soup and the kids want, like, there's times.
I think there's times, right? Like,
There's times where I'm like, would you like grilled cheese or Kraft dinner? Or would you like, where there's options. But generally speaking, at supper time, I don't make multiple meals.
Yeah.
And so what our rule of thumb was, if the kids didn't like it, they would get a plain piece of bread. It didn't happen very often that's what they chose. They usually had something from their plate, but that's all that they were allowed. Cadence now likes pieces of bread, but again, it did not happen very often. But it's hard too. Like, it's hard for me when her pickiness comes out of, she actually eats fairly healthy. She likes raw fruits and vegetables. She she'll eat like broccoli, peppers, like cucumbers, like that's her, she loves that, right?
Yeah.
So it's also hard. Whereas Mike is like meat, potatoes, like cheese. He does like sugar, but we limit. But yeah, so it's a tricky one, and I think you have to find what works for your family. The other thing too that I don't know, and this isn't, probably don't have a popular opinion on this, but so if my kids didn't eat their meal, they weren't allowed to eat anything else until they had what I felt was a good amount. And I could negotiate that. Like, okay, I want you to have 15 more bites. 14, whatever. I'll negotiate. But till they have that amount. And then they could have something later. But I didn't worry about my kids not eating enough and being hungry. Because I just felt like they're going to eat when they're hungry. And also I think it's helpful because Brian like goes through stages. He'll eat. And then he'll have a couple days where he's just picking. And I find Cadence is like that, where Mike is more consistent. So I think having that in my mind of like, I'm not going to, now we have to be a little bit more careful because she gets hangry. So we have to make sure she's getting her food into her at that every like 2 or 3 hours. But I didn't stress if my kids didn't eat very much for a few days.
It's hard though, like there are people in my life who have children who really struggle with pickiness and like can only eat like two things, and that's really hard to, I think, not worry about the like malnutrition and things like that.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm not sure, yeah, and maybe it's just because we didn't really get into that much, right? But
and I don't know, like I don't even know what the, if there is some sort of like, oh, just do this. Like I know, because I know we started right from the get-go feeding the kids with avocado and like anything that I hated, I fed the kids, and like really was trying hard. And for a while it was like they really did eat anything.
Same, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like they didn't want it. They were a typical child. They wanted to eat chicken nuggets and fries, and they didn't want to eat anything else.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I thought we had done the right thing, and but I'm also like, surprise, not always great with follow through. So like we've tried that, like you got to eat the supper, you can't have something later, and like no, later comes, and I'm like, yeah, sure, have the cookie, whatever.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent. The only time we run into, we don't actually have this very often anymore. But the only time we ran into the problem with that is when I'd forget and throw out their food.
And that happens
and they would be like,
score.
It didn't happen a lot, but it did happen sometimes. But for the most part, we were able to be consistent. But I like the variety within the meal.
Oh, yeah.
To have option, if that's a possibility. So like, even like my kids don't like tomato sauce very much. Micah will a bit more, but Cadence, like, she gags on it. But we always, like, if we're having spaghetti, they would like either white sauce or like plain pasta with butter and Parmesan. So I'll put like pasta with butter and Parmesan, and then in this one, spaghetti with red sauce, and they have to have a good amount of that, and then like a vegetable or something like that. I don't know what I was saying with that, but that's just options within the meal of that they can have, but still pushing them to try.
Because if you don't even offer it, then how are they ever going to learn, to learn to try new things, right?
Exactly.
And I also feel like, for me, being a picky eater, it was really hard to try new things, and so putting that extra pressure on me, like, make me want to shut right down. Like I didn't want an audience if I was trying something new. I wanted to have that freedom to be able to taste it without anybody looking at me.
That's interesting, yeah.
So that if I didn't like it, I didn't have to feel embarrassed if I was spitting it out. So I think like knowing your kid and what kind of freedom they might need might be helpful. I know that was for me. I like, don't force me to eat something in front of everybody. Oh, you've never had this food? Like, don't stare at you while you put this new thing in your mouth that you might vomit out.
The other thing I think I just thought of is a reason why I try not to push food. Like, finish this, eat all of this. I very much like, you need to listen to your body if you're full. Because I have food issues. And so that was one thing that I wanted to, like, I didn't want to make them finish a plate of something if their body was feeling full.
Right.
So that was also a really important thing to me, that I didn't say, like, you have to sit there until all of it's done. If you are full and ask 10 minutes later for a snack, no, you're coming back to the supper table. And also, they weren't allowed to leave just if they were done. They still had to sit at the dinner table with us for a reasonable amount of time. But that was a big thing for me, is not finishing everything on your plate because maybe they're full. So, and it's so all of our experiences add up to where we direct and lead, right?
Yes. So. And it's important. I hear it a lot. Like, it's important to give our children, like, they're human beings, right? So the things that we experience, like, we have to remember that they experience them too, right? Like the fullness, or like, I'm not having this today. And like, there are some days where I look at the lunch I brought at school and I'm like, I am not eating this. Like,
and there's going to be days where kids are doing that as well. But my kids are pretty good at listening to their body in the sense, like, especially with food and stuff too. So that makes me feel a bit better, and we'll mess them up in all other sorts of ways. But speaking of that, we had a parenting workshop thing today.
Yeah, at our church. So it was cool.
It was a lot of information, but there was a really good, like, resource book that I think will hopefully be able to look through and look up subjects and stuff like that. But What I found interesting though is you came home and Scott and you had a conversation and both at the same workshop and had completely different takeaways from it that actually contradicted each other.
Yeah.
And I find that very fascinating and shows just how much it's important to communicate, because that happens in so many circumstances where we're given the same information
and we come away with very different
and possibly opposing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was
a bit tricky.
It is tricky, and then just it's hard for us being in that same nuclear unit to like have come away with very opposing ideas. Now it's like, well, we've got to talk that out and figure out, because what he wanted to do, I was like, I am not prepared to do that.
I love that you had messaged, and then I was like, what did he hear that was the thought behind that, like what he said? And she's like, I don't know, I just reacted.
I just reacted.
I'm like, what? Fair enough. I understand that. But yeah. But I also, like, there was stuff in the parenting workshop where I was like, okay, that's not too bad. Like, I think we kind of have that. But then it's always the reminder, like, for me, doing things because it's just easier if I just do it myself. And I'm typically, like, I love helping people. I love serving and taking care of people. Like, that's just who I am. And so, like, to make my kids lunches and to, like, make sure everyone's taken care of is just something that I do and don't think a lot about.
But he was even saying, like, you could leave the food on, like, you would still make the lunch.
So for their lunches, yes, like, leave them options or whatever. And sometimes I'll say, like, would you like this or this? But getting them more responsibility. So tonight we had hot dogs outside. And so I was like, because I do allow my kids, like, Cadence knows how to make grilled cheese. She knows, like, she's learning stuff. Both of them know how to somewhat bake and whatever. I say that doesn't, it's not that they've baked with me like 4 or 5 times. They know how to crack an egg. That's basically what I'm saying.
What you need.
They know how to crack an egg with shells in there, but they pick them out. They know how to pick them out.
Excellent.
It sounded like I baked with them every week or something. I do not. So of course I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Tonight you had hot dogs outside.
Yes. And so Micah, we were outside and he wanted another one. So I sent him in to get his own. And so it was very sweet because then Brian and Cadence asked for just a wiener as well. And so I was like, oh, so he's going to bring out ketchup, bun, wieners. I was like, I wonder how this is going to go. But my kids are fairly resourceful, so he had a plate, and kids in general, I think, are plate, the hot dogs, and then he put the microwave cover on top so that he could set the ketchup and the bun that he needed on top and carry it out. And I was like, amazing. I did put the ketchup on for him because he was like, I don't know, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a mess.
But yeah, I don't like it when the kids use the ketchup.
Yeah,
ketchup everywhere. My biggest takeaway from today, which I loved, and I have already been trying to teach it to my daughter, I think it's a great life concept, is, and especially for someone suffering from ADHD, you hear a new idea and you want to jump into it 100%. And that can feel overwhelming. And so his thing was, can I be 5% better?
That was good.
Or like, what 5% can I focus on? And so, like, that's really cool to, okay, yes, there's so many things, but what can I do? Like, what's one tangible thing that I can tackle and look at? And I really, really liked that. And it was really helpful with my daughter today with an issue she was struggling with. So
very cool. So speaking of, like, parenting and all that stuff, okay, I have 2 things, and I will try to be quick, but I'm not good at that. Okay, so first of all, like last week, I was going to say this and I forgot. My kids were bickering and struggling and all of that stuff. And I had sent them to their rooms and they were bickering up there. And I was like,
through the walls?
Like, yeah, it was horrible. And so I was like, oh, I'm going all Donna Butcher on you. That's my mom. I was like, this is happening. So to the table. It came down, put your head on the table. I don't remember if Emma got me to put the hand, but I needed a minute to compose myself. So head on the table. And then I lectured them. Good
old-fashioned.
I went for it. My mom I love you, Mom, and we joke about it, so she's well aware of this. But we would sit at the kitchen table, and she would be at the counter, leaning over the counter, and giver. And the moral choices, empathy, compassion, she would just, all of it, just give her. And I did that. And it turned out not too bad. So I went through, like, that is your brother. She is your sister. You are never going, I mean, you have 4 kids, so that's a little different. They can take one and pass on another. But but for them, I'm like, no one is ever going to be that for you. No one is ever going to be your sister. No one is ever going to be your brother. That is special, and you need to have each other's backs. And Cadence became emotional and kind of turned away, like she gets kind of emotional, angry, turned away. Micah got up and hugged her. And then I said, before we go, I need you to say 3 things, what you like and love about your sister or brother, and 1 thing that you would miss if they weren't in your lives. And that, like, both of them started tearing up. And they got through it, and Micah was fairly quick. We had to reword a few things to actually, like, tie it in. But then both of them did come around, and it, like, we had, I think, 1 other bickering that kind of day. But I thought that was good and successful.
Strengthening the relationship bonds.
And then even tonight, like, so Cadence got hurt under the Geodome with the swing. I'm just saying also, I fail a lot of areas and lose it and whatever. But the moments of win are...
You need to hear a few of
are
them.
exciting. We have to hold on to. But she got hurt and she was in the Geodome. So I said to Micah, you need to go and be her. Like, you need to go with her. You need to give her that squeeze hug that she needs. So he climbs in, pushes a swing, and just like, she's like huddled on the ground, and he bear hugs her, wraps around, and you could see her arm like go up to touch him. And that's kind of her thing. Like if somebody's hugging her from behind, to touch them. And it was a really cool moment for them. And they had a bit of a bickery night. So it was nice to have that. But
very cool.
I thought it was funny. My kids were at my parents' house yesterday, and they were bickering a little bit, and Dad said, but I solved it with ice cream. And I'm like, what? And I guess they were at the table, and he's like, you guys, what would you do if I called Mom, or what would Mom and Dad do if I called them right now because you're bickering and whatever? And they were like, consequence or something like that. And he's like, up to the counter right now. I thought he was going to go all Donna Butcher on them too, but he got ice cream and was like, he was like, I need you to make a decision. And he put 2 things of ice cream in front. Which one are you going to choose? And they were like, and then they chose it. And then he was like, just let it all go. It's like, I love that. Just like distraction.
Life,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Distraction. But
Grace, I like it.
yeah, it was good. So we have some stuff coming up.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Excited.
I've talked a lot.
We are going to be having some guests. Is it next week already?
2 weeks.
In
Because
2 weeks.
yes, because next week Bri works and it's the weekend after for Father's Day.
Father's Day weekend. Brian and Scott, our husbands, are joining us.
I'm taking more pills that day.
We are going to be going live. Not live, but we are going on location.
That sounded really bad when I said that about the pills.
We need what we need. Yes, we are going on location and bringing our husbands along for the ride.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to enjoy it. So look forward to
You know
that.
what I think we should do on one of the nights? Oh, no, I'm not going to say it here. I have an
Because Scott
idea
will hear
because Scott will hear it.
And
but
your
I
husband's been watching up on episodes.
Slowly. He binge watches a few of them at a time. But yeah, so we have Father's Day that we're doing that with our husbands.
Then we are going live because we are going to be doing a live stream for our finale on June 26th at 8:30. And
8:30 p.m. So please join us.
yes, and that is when we are going to be doing our draw for our contest. So
and it's been so cool to see how many people are sharing and commenting and everything. It's been
participating. Yeah,
it's been really cool to see.
So you can there's a post on our Facebook page that you can like, and you can like our page and comment and share.
And what's in our contest bag thing?
The prizes are
Not a mug.
Not a mug. A box of chocolates, because I love Lindor chocolates. And a adult coloring book, because that's fun.
Yep.
And a devotional, which is called Because Crack is Illegal, which I think is a hilarious title.
Yes. And it has a mug on the
It
cover.
has a mug
on the
cover.
yeah.
So yes, I'm looking forward to that. So if you win, we will be shipping that out to you. So that is exciting and
Yeah. So June 26th.
live.
Don't leave us hanging.
Come join us. Have some fun.
Yeah. That'd be good. So you can
Join us on Facebook.
Yep.
Give us a thumbs up. Like us there. Follow us on YouTube and subscribe by hitting the bell.
the bell.
The bell.
Interesting. Well, it's been good. Have a good night.
Have a great night. I'll get the right button eventually.